Yo, TTMT,
Yo,
what's up?
what's going on, man?
Man, you know we here to do it again, man, on the Next
Next
Level
Level
Nation
Nation
podcast.
podcast. Exactly.
Man,
Here we
what
go.
a time, man. You understand? We got
Yeah,
special
we got.
guests in the house.
All right, let's go. We got Robert Lopez in the building.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Extraordinary drummer, musician, percussionist, educator, teacher. Has done almost 32 world tours around the world playing drums with different artists around the world and percussion. And living in Italy for many, many, many years, as well as has a
Whoa.
lot of wealth to bring to the table. Without any further ado, Robert Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you.
Woo!
Pleasure to be here.
Good to have
Okay.
you, man.
Knock it up.
Where should I start?
So we want to further do. Where are you born? First of all, where you come from?
I am originally from the Bronx, New York.
Okay, book it down, Bronx. That's where I come from
There
too.
Down,
you go.
bro.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Um, I lived in the Bronx until I was about 12 years old. Then my family moved up to Queens, New York, to a private house, which was my wish come true, my dream come true.
Mm-hmm.
I had a basement, and my dad turned my basement into a studio.
Okay.
So I had musicians and friends over,
Mm-hmm.
rehearsals with my first band
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the basement. I practically lived in that basement for most of my teenage years.
Okay.
But it was a great experience. I met a bunch of musicians, older, younger, in school with me, out of school, playing on the circuit already. It was a, what can I say? It was a great moment in music. It was a great moment for live music.
Mm.
We had bands that came out monthly. Black music was very popular. Everybody was individual. Nobody was copying nobody else. It was really, it was very colorful. Put it that way.
All right. Nice, man. Nice, man. So how did you? So he bought you drums initially. What was it? The love of the drums.
Not exactly. I first started playing. Before I got to drums, I started playing Latin percussion. I played
Okay.
congas, timbales, bongos.
Okay.
My last name is Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from the Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
there was many opportunities to play these instruments or learn how to play these instruments
Mm-hmm.
from the Cubans and Puerto Ricans that lived in my neighborhood.
Okay. Nice.
So that's where I started.
All right.
I got into the cadets
Mm-hmm.
in John Philip Sousa
Okay.
when I was 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an official appointment with a snare drum.
Okay.
I had a neighbor who lived in my building
Mhm.
who was a drummer, a
Mhm.
jazz drummer,
Mhm.
Al King,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me my first lessons in drumming.
Okay.
And from there, I always had the fever. I never lost the fever.
Yeah, man. What do you
I,
think?
I played as much as I could with anybody I could. I did jam sessions until I was 21, 22
Okay.
with everybody. And my neighborhood in Queens was a focal point for musicians
Mhm.
up and coming.
Okay.
A lot of musicians famous today and known, but a lot of musicians were in this neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Also went to school with me as well.
Okay. Like who?
Marcus Miller,
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Bernard Wright,
Marcus Miller on the bass.
yes, Bernard Wright, keyboards,
Uh-huh.
Lenny White,
Okay.
drummer,
Okay.
Billy Cobham, and his brother Wayne.
Okay.
Further down my block,
Mhm.
one of James Brown's drummers
Okay.
lived on my block.
All right.
Actually, he's the brother of Maceo Parker,
Oh, okay.
Melvin Parker.
whoa.
Oh, nice.
He lived on my block in Queens.
Mhm.
Um, the block above mine,
Mhm.
I lived on 224th. There was a group, Brass Construction,
Mhm.
lived on 225th.
Mhm.
So I could listen to their rehearsals just sitting out in front of the house on the lawn.
Wow.
Some of
Nice.
their albums, demos.
Mhm.
in my backyard behind me, I shared backyards with the singer Meatloaf.
Okay, Meatloaf.
From the group, the rock group.
Yeah, the rock group. Yeah.
I heard his first songs. I heard his first band when they rehearsed in his basement under his house.
Wow.
So the area was full of live music. The area was full of great musicians.
Mm-hmm.
We followed a lot of them. We took lessons from them.
Wow.
Omar Hakim was another.
Drummer, bad drummer.
Yes. His dad
Mm-hmm.
taught all of us as teenagers.
Okay.
Music and jazz, swing. He put a big band together, and most of us in the neighborhood, we had music also in school. So we would come home and we would play in this big band. And Omar's dad, Hassan, rest in peace, would teach us how to play in an orchestra form, in a big band form.
Okay.
Which was very challenging, but very helpful.
Yeah.
Because anything smaller than that was almost easy.
Okay.
Like a trio or a quartet. After playing in the big band, you sort of found your way.
I got you.
So it was great. It was a wonderful time. Afterwards, when I got somewhere around 16, 17, still in Queens, musicians from Manhattan started looking for me.
Okay. Nice.
And that's how I got into a larger, a higher level of musicians and playing.
Who was the first big act or the first real large act or first tour that you did?
Probably with a band called Musique.
Okay.
Musique had a hit record, or a few hit records. Dance, Dance, Dance.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah,
Push in the Bush.
Okay. Dance, Dance, Dance.
I got exposed to them through another manager and had the opportunity to play around with them for a while.
Okay.
I met a brother singer, guitar player from Zimbabwe, a brother named Tonga.
Okay.
Who had such beautiful music. The first time I heard it, it brought tears to my eyes.
Wow. Okay.
On how beautiful it was. The first time I ever heard the term Afro reggae.
Okay.
And I participated with that for a while, and that was another major experience. Through that, I had a lot of access to private schools.
Okay.
In Harlem, Tito Puente had a school, and I sort of went to that for a few weeks. I got a chance to play with him and some of the musicians from his orchestra.
Okay.
And that sort of threw me into Manhattan. So I started playing and performing with musicians from Manhattan who basically had a name somewhere around the neighborhood. I played percussion with a lot of jazz drummers.
Okay.
Like Chico Hamilton.
Okay, Chico Hamilton, pretty famous guy.
Larry Haynes.
Okay.
A few times I had the pleasure to play also with Mel Lewis.
Okay. Mel Lewis.
Orchestra. Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Okay.
Was another great experience. And while I was doing that, I was perfecting my Latin skills in Tito Puente School. I was doing some reggae stuff, and I was doing everything I actually could.
Okay. And
as it came up.
And you made a living doing this. I mean,
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Did you do any other odd jobs besides being a drummer?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
In the early morning, afternoon, I would work in Tower Records.
Okay, Tower Records.
In the village.
Yeah, okay, in the village.
Yes, I had an apartment in the village on 1st Street and 1st Avenue, which was only like a 5-minute walk from home to work.
Okay.
I would work there in the morning and afternoon. And the same, I did security.
Okay.
Don't tell nobody. I did security, and
they're going to go down.
Right. The same team of security people had another store called Unique that they used to service. So when I finished in Tower Records at 2, I would go to this other clothing store called Unique, and I would work there till 5:30. Then from there, I'd go home and put on my music uniform and turn into Mr. Groove.
Mr. Groove, bad drummer.
Mr. Groove.
And basically, from about 5:30, 6 o'clock, I would do some early evening gigs in the village. Um, I was lucky enough to meet a jazz trumpet player by the name of Ted Curson, who was a trumpet player for Charlie Mingus
Okay.
when he was a teenager.
Nice.
He liked jazz Latin music, and he heard me play, and he asked me if I would come to the Blue Note, where they would do jam sessions from midnight to about 5 in the morning.
Sorry to cut you, Robert. For those who don't know, Charlie Mingus is like one of my favorite bass players.
Yes, he is.
Amazing, big guy.
Yes.
Huge dude, man.
Yes.
But like an amazing personality too. Like if you ever
Electric.
yeah, if you ever see his he has a book out that I read when I was really starting out in jazz.
Yeah.
And he kind of talks about his whole life story.
Yeah.
And he was a really like larger than life guy that was around during the time where Miles Davis and all the other guys were coming out. He's a little bit pre that time, but around that time,
outspoken, very direct,
very strong-willed individual, but played the bass and killed it, man. He has so many beautiful songs, so many blues songs, and so many things he's created. So I just had to add that. Go ahead, Rob.
And playing with I got chosen to play in the Blue Note. They had a rhythm section that was there each evening, and then we would add horn players or piano players or whatever the case may be. If we had someone who wanted to play an instrument that was on stage, naturally we get up and extend the favor. I met many musicians night after night. I did this for almost 2 years. Wow. Maybe a little more. And that's 6 days a week. So I had a chance to play with who was coming to the Blue Note for a week. Most often, once they heard me play in a jam session, they would invite me to play with their group the next day. Groups that didn't have a percussionist or whatever the case may be. So I met tons of musicians this way. I got a ton of experience this way. I met all my favorite drummers. I played with all my favorite drummers, bass players. Winter Marcellus, Branford Marcellus, Jeff Teen Watts.
What? Jeff Teen Watts.
This is at the beginning.
Yeah.
When they just came from Berkeley and came to New York, I was on the scene and I mixed in quite well with it. And that was fantastic. And from there, we're in maybe now the mid 80s. I was still in the Blue Note. I was in a few local bands around town. And I met a beautiful woman from Italy.
It's always a woman, right? You met a woman.
Either that or you're hungry.
Beautiful.
You got a beautiful woman.
Beautiful woman from Italy that was on vacation. And for some reason or another, we hooked up and stayed together. Long past her visa.
Okay, long past her visa time.
But it was great. I had worked maybe without a break, continuously for almost a year and a half. At that point, I had played with a bunch of groups. I played with Billy Paul. I played with all in the Blue Note. I played with Norman Connors. I played with Phyllis Hyman. Norman Connors.
Jazz.
Just so many. And then a bunch of jazz and all Latin as well. So I really had a ball. After this year and a half of continuous work, I decided I needed vacation. So I wanted to go to Italy with my girlfriend for maybe a couple of months and come back and start all over again. But that did not happen. But I'll explain. The day I left New York, one of Italy's top jazz drummers arrived in New York. I had left information to contact me with friends and manager from the Blue Note and everything else. And when this drummer came, he asked something about a percussionist, or someone told him about me going to Italy.
Okay.
So they gave him my information. In fact, when he got back 2 weeks later to hit me, he called me actually from the airport in Rome.
Okay.
And we talked. I told him where I was. He came that evening. It took him about 2 hours to get there, but he came that evening to meet me.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, I had found out that he was like Italy's top jazz drummer.
Mm-hmm.
He had a small band that he would play with,
Mm-hmm.
and he also had a very interesting history for Italian funk soul music.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Italian people got funk. They got soul. Okay.
Italian funk.
In fact, these guys, they do have a certain type of soul and a certain type of funk because they come from the southern part of Italy,
Okay.
Napoli,
Okay.
Hey.
where everything is like, it's almost like being in the city is almost like being in the Bronx.
Really interesting.
Wow.
The city works for the people who live there.
Mm-hmm.
The musicians always have places to play. You always have places to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You always have places just to chill out and have a beer with friends. And it's the lifestyle is it's like this every day, especially after work. People get together. They stay in a restaurant or they have a happy hour. They stay in there until happy hour is over. And then when it becomes a restaurant, they're still there. They have something to eat. They had a good chit chat. You're listening to good music. You're in good company. The women are beautiful. So, no matter where you look. Most of the time in this country, I wore my sunglasses at night because it's just so much glare.
Yeah, so much glare, so
And
much
flare.
so much glare. You gotta wear shades,
Yes,
right?
we don't want to be.
So you want to get caught doing the wrong thing.
There you go.
King D Money, you want to say something?
No, man, I was just wanting to listen, man, and suck up this story, man, this legacy of what's going on, man. He's the artist that he's mentioning and the style of music that he's into, you know. And I just like now he's talking about Italy. I'm like, yo, what was that like? And he's telling me you gotta wear your sunglasses. Everywhere. You gotta put on your sunglasses. It's just so beautiful out there.
So much to admire. It is. It's a whole nother lifestyle. I guess I could say it's like living in the States, maybe in the mid-50s.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Things were still kind of natural, kind of pure here in the States. And that is basically how it is in Italy today. I mean, the food is exceptionally good because everything is organic.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't import American food whatsoever. Nothing.
Well, oh, really?
Wow.
And also, aren't you a vegetarian as well?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that journey. How'd you get there?
Now, I don't eat meat, but I do eat fish.
Okay. So you're pescatarian. Okay.
There you go. But that was very easy to do. Also in Italy because everything is fresh. Most of what you buy, because of the lifestyle of the people, is fresh and it's grown locally. So you don't get fruit and vegetables that are maybe in a refrigerated truck for 8-9 hours traveling from from one place to another. Every little town, and I lived in a little town, not in the city. Every little town has a market, a farmer's market weekly.
Okay, nice.
So you get your fresh vegetables and fruits and fish from this market, and you're good for a week.
Okay.
But also, even our supermarkets, they're large like American supermarkets, but Italians buy food for 2, maximum 3 days.
Oh, really?
Not a week at a time, because you want
it fresh. So because to be honest with you, over here we have so many preservatives, and it stays so long. We're like, yeah, we want the food to last, but the preservatives are actually destroying your body.
Exactly.
And they're eating their food fresh because
when you buy fresh fish, 9 times out of 10 you leave it in the fridge. You won't freeze it. Yeah. Because you have intentions of cooking it that evening.
Right. Makes sense.
So it's not frozen. You might have maybe, like I used to do. I used to always keep like some kind of green vegetables in the frozen part, in case I didn't have enough for fresh or whatever the case. But that's basically all that was in my freezer, just frozen vegetables. from the supermarket, sometimes from local farms.
Mm-hmm.
But the eating is very healthy, and I eat one meal a day.
Mm.
The food is just jam packed with nutrients and vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel the need to eat or have another meal.
I got you.
If you do, it'd probably be fruit, nuts, and vegetables. No vegetables, fruits and nuts and things like that.
Mm.
Very healthy living.
That makes a big sense. That makes a lot of sense because a lot of times when we're over here, this society is more gluttonous. You know, they anytime I see anybody on any type of channel when they're traveling, they have several different servings, but the servings are really small.
Yes.
They're not, and I always feel like it's better
Yes.
eat less as possible. You know what I'm saying? It makes your digestive system works better.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like now I'm eating apples.
That's what actually an antipasta does to you.
Uh-huh.
Italians eat an antipasta, then they have a first plate, then they have a second plate.
Okay.
The first plate is usually pasta.
Okay.
And the second plate is probably your fish and vegetables.
Okay.
Or your fish and greens or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is but it's not large plates of food.
Large portions.
Mm. It's just small portions. And the antipasta, well, your stomach starts to feel that you're putting something in it after 20 minutes. Mm. So that's what your antipasta does.
Okay.
It sort of opens your stomach. Mm. Or you have a hot soup or something. Mm-hmm. And then you have your pasta. Mm-hmm. And your pasta is usually anywhere, maximum 80 grams of pasta. Mm. So you're anywhere between 60 grams and 80 grams of pasta. Mm. If you want a white sauce or a red sauce or whatever the case may be, you have that. Mm. But it's not very large plates of food, even though it's 3 different plates. Mm. Gotcha. Afterwards, you have maybe a piece of, my dinner is usually a piece of salmon, mm-hmm. either grilled or in the oven, mm-hmm. and 2 green vegetables.
Okay, nice. Nice, man. What are you doing presently now? What's going on present?
Now, presently, I am enjoying actually
retirement.
My semi-retirement.
Okay.
Because I'm not performing live anymore.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying teaching.
Okay.
I noticed. Well, I started teaching about 30 years ago.
Oh wow, long time.
But that was in Italy.
Okay. So you've been in Italy for at least 30 years.
I've been in Italy 42 years.
42 years, man. You met that whole person and a whole 2 teenagers.
He lived a whole midlife crisis person in Italy.
Exactly, a whole midlife crisis person in Italy.
And that's it. It's so easy to live there because you don't go through these phases. You don't have this stress from society in any realm. Uh-huh. When people are together and enjoying themselves, that's all it's about. Uh-huh. It's not what kind of cat you got or how many dogs you got. It's if you're wearing Gucci or Ferrucci or something like this. It's just we're just having a good time together. We're enjoying whatever wine we're having. We're enjoying the beautiful company of women at our table, and they look good, they smell good, and it's just a good time.
So let me ask you a question, Robert. How are black people viewed over in Italy?
We're stars.
Okay. All right.
We're treated most places in Europe. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I know how I traveled as a musician. I've never stood online for anything. Okay. Put it that way. Okay. We're treated in Europe. Well, if you know anything about jazz stories, a lot of Black Americans went to Paris. A lot of them went to Milan. Yeah. And other places like this, and because they
weren't getting paid or being.
And you live like a king.
Yeah, yeah.
You live like a king. You're not you're exposed to the better part of their society. You're exposed to the better part of their beings. Everybody pulls out their best manners when they're around you. Okay. So it's always pleasurable. You get a lot of invites for dinners and parties, and it's just a good feeling. It's the way we should be treated at home.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, Charlie Parker and a couple of other musicians used to go over there just because of the way they were treated over there. Yeah. And they couldn't believe, they didn't even want to come back here. Exactly. It's just that they had to come back because there was a period of time where you had to have a license to be a musician.
So you had to renew.
So you had to renew that license.
Another great American track.
Yeah.
Wow.
But in Europe, you live a different type of life. You live a clean, healthy life. If that's what you want to do. I lived in a small town up in the mountains. I was a marathon runner when I got to Italy.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe where I was. And I went running every day. Sometimes I went running 2 times a day.
Wow.
Like running in the middle of the woods, in the mountains, fresh air, clean water. I could stop in any spring, and water coming down from the mountains you can drink, and it's the cleanest thing you'd ever want to drink. Why doesn't water taste like this in America? But it's missing the Mother Nature's part.
Yeah.
But it's a great experience. Musically, it's a great experience. I did some of the best groups. I was always in the top 10 of groups and bands that I toured with in the country. So I got lucky enough to do that. After I made a name for myself, after maybe a couple of years, I was requested by these groups.
And what is the biggest group you've been requested by and played for? Besides Lenny Kravitz.
That didn't go through though.
Yeah, I know that didn't go through, but what is the biggest group? What the most popular, or the group that was working most?
I did. There's a guy a blues guy in Italy called Zucchero, which is sugar. But because he does a funky type of blues, his second album, third album, went over very big in Europe.
Okay.
So the tour was it was vast.
Okay, nice. How long did the tour last?
Well, they break it up into 3 months at a time.
Okay.
So you get 3 months of hard work, and then you get a couple of weeks off, and then you go somewhere else, a little further north in Europe, and then you start all over again around there. So some of them could actually last around 9 months.
Wow, it's a long time.
I've been on tour with a group called the Bicycle Thieves.
Okay.
In English. In Italian, Laghi di Biciclette.
Okay.
And that lasted 12 months.
Wow, it's almost a year. So how do you? So going on tour, like as a musician, you know, some musicians like they have something going to fall back on.
Right.
Were you just touring on top of touring? Like you get off one tour, you go to the next tour.
Take a week off to renew whatever I had to renew with my equipment, relax a little bit with my family, and the week after, I'm in a 2-week rehearsal for another tour.
Okay, so
with another group.
So how did that work? Did they already told you, like, when you get off this tour, man, we want you next tour, or just people?
Sometimes I was lucky enough to get it like that because there's 2 or 3 groups that I was interested in and I played with were in the same agency.
Oh, okay, I got you. So they knew kind of.
So they gave you an offer.
Okay, I got you.
Such and such is looking for you. She wants to know if you like her music or not. Here's a press kit. You get all the material and the photos and this and that. And the first third of the tour, what dates you're going to be in. And after that, you decide whether you want to do it.
Nice. I like it. King D money.
The money is good.
The money's good?
When you're not in Italy, you get spending money.
Okay.
That's usually about $350. But everything's in euro as well.
Okay.
So if you don't drink and smoke and carry on like a fool, you really don't have too many expenses. So even that money that they give you daily when you're not in Italy, you can save that as well.
So when in terms of, because a lot of musicians it's either feast or famine. How did that go for you? Did you save money? Were you on get royalties?
I did. For later things I did, I didn't worry about royalties and things like this because I knew at the moment I can get paid more.
Okay.
In Italy, you can get paid more if you don't put your name on an album.
Interesting.
But you better believe somewhere your name is on that album.
Yeah.
Even though they say, well, we'll stick it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they want the credit.
Yeah.
But they'll pay you for other things.
Like, so you basically were working as an independent contractor.
Yes.
But over the long haul, if getting a royalty, you're still going to get a check after that thing is issued.
Right.
So you'd prefer.
That usually lasts 18, 20 years.
20 years. So did you prefer just getting paid as much upfront as you possibly could?
Yes.
Okay.
because you never know what the future holds.
True.
And then in the later 90s, music started changing.
True.
From one generation to the next.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of seniors that were leaving the business and leaving it to their juniors who really didn't know much about the business.
I got you.
So things changed there. Rules changed. Money changed.
Yeah.
Security changed.
Yeah.
So it's you had to make different decisions. It wasn't as plentiful as it was in earlier years.
That's what I'm saying. Because right now, it's not the same way at all. It's not. You don't have musicians making the money that they made back then.
Right.
And they have to do.
But that's also because of the technology.
Okay, that's true.
Once Yamaha made everything available in programs and things like this, you really didn't have to know much about music if you had a computer.
True. Yeah.
How many famous demos I know of that started on a computer on GarageBand?
Yeah.
That became
hits.
A hit?
Yeah, because you don't really need that much. You just need a will and a desire to do it. You don't actually have to have talent now to actually create music.
If you can piece together what you like,
yeah, someone else
you might have it right. You might have it hit.
Yeah, yeah.
So something as simple and southern as the song "Boots on the Ground."
Yeah,
it's a smash hit.
Yeah,
it's. I know he's over. Whoever sings this song is over 1 billion views on any social media outlet.
Yeah.
I hear it playing all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I have no idea who sings it. I'd like to play drums for him.
I hear you.
Live.
So what's in the future for Robert Lopez now?
Well, my schooling now is I'm teaching drums in the Guitar Center.
Okay.
In Coconut Creek.
Okay. You can find you on any social media platforms.
You can find me at Rob Lopez. What is that? Check out Rob Lopez. Facebook.
Facebook, Rob Lopez.
That's about what I use more than anything else.
You're not on Instagram or anything like that?
I have an Instagram, but I don't use it very often.
We'll put it in the chat, guys, if you want to take some lessons from Robert. We'll put his information in the chat so you can get the chance to experience Rob Lopez's musical journey, and he'll probably teach you how to play some drums and get your rhythm tight.
That's another thing. That's in my future works as well, because I'm going to continue. But I do teach drummers a lot of things that have nothing to do with drumming.
Yeah.
Like behavior.
Yeah.
Attire.
Yeah.
These things are important when you're out.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's looking.
Yeah, that's true. You never know who's looking, man. Man, I think we lost King D Money. But he probably be back. But man, I know you got to go to another lesson.
There you go.
An hour from now, man. We are appreciative that you've come on the podcast, man.
It's my pleasure.
Man, it's a pleasure having you, man. I appreciate you, King, man. And speak to an Italian, man. Say something in Italian, man, before you can go out.
Buonasera a tutti. That means good evening to everyone. In Italian.
All right.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
That means I'll see you again.
King D Money, you have one last thing you want to ask?
Nah, man, we out, man. I'm gonna save it for the next podcast, B.
Okay, man. pleasure, sir. All right, man.
Peace.
Deuces. Robert Lopez.
There you go.
Catch you guys later.
Stay in the mix of all that good music.
Deuces.
There you go.